Okay, so we've got a ton of stuff on the lean startup.
Yeah, it looks like someone's getting ready to ditch the theory and actually launch a business.
That's what this deep dive is all about, right?
Hmm.
We're going to take everything Eric Ries lays out and break it down into actionable steps.
So you can stop just reading about startups and actually start one.
Exactly. And, it's amazing how many people hit that same wall.
Oh yeah, they pour everything into a product and then crickets. It's tough to watch.
Heartbreaking. But it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Ries comes in,
With the lean startup, yeah, he gives you a framework,
for handling uncertainty.
turning it into a strength.
And it's not just for tech companies either.
Nope. He's got examples from Intuit to a mobile laundry service, even the CFPB. It's all about treating your whole business as a series of experiments.
Whether you're in a garage or, a Fortune 500.
Doesn't matter. It's about constantly testing your assumptions and learning from the results.
And the book itself is structured around this core cycle.
Build, measure, learn.
Every chapter builds on that.
Offering specific strategies for each stage.
Okay, so let's break that down. Build, measure, learn. That's the heart of it, right?
Absolutely. It all starts with build.
Where you create that MVP.
The minimum viable product.
And this is where a lot of people get tripped up.
Big time. They think it has to be this perfect, polished thing.
But it's really about getting to the core of your idea quickly.
And testing those riskiest assumptions as fast as possible.
Right. It's about learning, not perfection.
Think of it like building a car.
Instead of spending years perfecting the engine, you first build a skateboard.
Yeah, just to see if people even want to move faster.
Okay, I'm getting that. So build the MVP, then we move to measure.
Exactly. But you're not measuring vanity metrics here.
No. We're talking about how customers actually behave.
Do they use your product? Come back for more. Tell their friends about it.
You're looking for real signals, not just surface-level numbers.
It's like looking at your car's dashboard. You don't just want to see miles driven, right?
You want fuel-level engine temperature, stuff that tells you how the car's actually running.
Exactly. That's what Ries calls innovation accounting, tracking the metrics that matter.
Okay, so we've built, we've measured. Now we're at learn. This is where the magic happens, right?
For sure. This is where you analyze all that data and make decisions.
Pivot or persevere.
Stick with the current plan or make a major change.
Like IMVU. They started as this IM add-on.
But through this whole process, they realized their customers actually wanted a standalone social network.
And that pivot turned them into a success.
A classic example.
Okay, I love it. But how do we actually put this into practice? Our listeners are all about action.
Right. So what can they do right now to start implementing these ideas?
Let's break it down. Immediate actions. A 30-day plan.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll tackle some common obstacles.
Sounds good. You ready to get to work?
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Okay, so first things first, define your leap of faith assumptions.
What are those make or break beliefs about your business?
The things that, if proven false, would completely derail your plans.
You got to write those down.
Keep that list close.
We're talking about assumptions that are crucial to your entire business model.
Like, people will pay for this, or this problem is actually big enough for people to want a solution.
You've got to pinpoint those before you can even think about testing them.
And that leads us to your 30-day plan.
Okay, lay it on it.
Over the next month, I want you to talk to at least 10 potential customers about those assumptions.
Get out of the building.
Don't just tell them about your product. Listen to them.
Hear about their problems and frustrations.
You're not selling anything at this point.
You're trying to validate those core assumptions.
With real-world feedback.
Are you aligned with what customers actually need and want?
Once you've had those conversations, start sketching out your MVP.
And remember, it's not about perfection.
It's about building the simplest possible version.
A landing page, a prototype, even just a series of manual steps.
Like Groupon's pizza coupons.
Right. Sometimes low quality is highly effective for learning.
Exactly. Now let's talk about some roadblocks you might hit.
Oh yeah, there are always roadblocks.
One of the biggest is analysis paralysis.
Spending months researching and planning without ever testing anything.
So how do you break free?
It's easy to get stuck in that loop. Overthinking and never taking action.
That's where the power of the MVP comes in.
It forces you to confront those assumptions.
Quickly and cheaply.
You're ripping off the Band-Aid.
Getting that real feedback fast.
It's about getting out of your head and into the market.
Another common obstacle is fear of failure.
But in the lean startup world, failure isn't the end.
It's just a course correction.
You're allowed to make mistakes.
In fact, Ries encourages it, embracing failure as part of the journey.
So how do we shift our mindset to see failure as an opportunity?
It's about remembering you're not aiming for perfection on the first try.
You're aiming for validated learning.
And sometimes the best way to learn is to mess up and adjust course.
Just look at Vodason's. They went through multiple pivots
Constantly adapting.
until they found a winning formula.
If they'd been afraid to fail, they never would have gotten there.
That's a great point. Speaking of learning from others, any case studies that illustrate these principles?
Oh, we've got a perfect one, IMVU. Remember them?
The social network.
Yeah, Eric Ries was actually a co-founder.
No way.
Yeah, their journey is a masterclass in validated learning.
So what happened? Fill us in.
Well, they started with this vision of revolutionizing instant messaging, avatar-based chat.
Sounds cool.
Right, but their initial assumptions about what customers wanted were way off.
So how they pivot?
Well, they thought people would use their avatar IM as an add-on to existing platforms like AIM or Yahoo Messenger,
Okay.
but customers wanted a standalone network where they could meet new W people.
Ah. So instead of integrating with existing social graphs, they built their own.
Yep, a pretty big shift.
Huge. And it all came from watching customer behavior.
And being willing to challenge those initial assumptions.
Okay, this is all starting to click. But I have a feeling there's more to unpack here.
Oh, there's definitely more.
What else can our listeners look forward to? Okay, so we've laid the groundwork, but now let's kick it into high gear. How do we take this whole build, measure, learn cycle and accelerate it?
Yeah.
Even more efficient. You know, our listeners are all about speed.
They're going to love this. One of the most powerful concepts in the lean startup is working in small batches.
Small batches. Okay. What does that look like in practice?
Imagine writing a novel. Instead of spending months on the whole manuscript before any feedback, you write one chapter, get feedback revised, then move on to the next chapter.
So instead of building the perfect product all at once,
You break it down.
smaller chunks.
Manageable pieces.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Like Toyota revolutionized car manufacturing.
Exactly. They didn't build an entire car at once. They worked in small batches, constantly releasing updates, gathering feedback.
And you're getting real-world feedback much faster.
Way faster.
So you can identify problems early on,
And make adjustments.
saving time and resources.
Exactly. And this approach isn't just for software companies.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. It makes sense for a tech startup constantly iterating.
Yeah.
But what about other industries?
Ries uses a great example from Alphabet Energy. They developed technology to generate electricity from waste heat.
Waste heat.
Okay.
That's pretty complex.
Right. Usually building something like that would require a huge upfront investment.
Makes sense. You'd be hesitant to get started.
But instead of building a full-scale power plant to test the technology,
They created smaller units,
modular units that they could deploy in different settings.
so they tested their assumptions without betting the farm,
Exactly. And this small batch approach allowed them to find and solve problems early on.
saving them tons of time and money.
It all connects back to validated learning.
Yeah, I see that. Each small badge is like a mini experiment
Exactly, giving you valuable insights.
to inform your next steps.
It's all about data-driven decisions.
But let's be real. Our listeners are ambitious. They want to see growth. How does this translate into actual growth for their startups?
That's where understanding your engine of growth comes in. This is where things get exciting.
Engines of growth.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
Ries identifies 4 primary engines: sticky viral paid, and the one that often gets overlooked, repeat purchase or use.
Okay, so let's take those one by one. What does each engine look like in action?
Sticky growth is all about keeping your existing customers engaged. Think of a social media platform that keeps users hooked with new content and features.
So you're creating a product that people love and can't live without.
Exactly, building that habit-forming loop.
Got it. Viral growth is when your existing customers bring in new customers.
Like a chain reaction? Think about those early days of Hotmail. Everyone was forwarding those get your free email messages.
I remember those. They were everywhere.
Their customers became their marketers.
Brilliant.
Now paid growth is acquiring customers through paid channels.
Like advertising or direct sales.
But it's more than just throwing money at ads.
You need to be strategic.
You have to figure out your customer lifetime value.
How much revenue a customer generates over their lifetime with your product.
Exactly. And then you compare that to your customer acquisition cost. You need to make sure you're making a profit.
Spending less on acquiring a customer than you're earning from them.
And finally, we have repeat purchase or use. This drives a lot of businesses, from your local coffee shop to subscription box services.
Building that loyalty.
Crucial for long-term sustainable growth.
Okay, so you need to figure out which engine makes sense for your business And then optimize that engine.
And once you have that engine humming, it will start to generate consistent, sustainable growth, the kind of growth that every startup dreams of.
Growth that's not reliant on one-time tactics.
Or unsustainable spending.
This is all great stuff, but I have a feeling there's even more to uncover,
Oh yeah, there's more.
especially when it comes to adapting to change. What else can our listeners look forward to?
In part 3, we'll dive into the concept of pivoting, making those tough decisions about changing course. We'll also explore tools and techniques that can help you become a more adaptive and resilient entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
So we talked about building quickly, measuring diligently, even figuring out your engine of growth. But building a successful startup, it's about more than just tactics, right?
It's about mindset, how you approach problems, how you handle challenges.
It's that resilience factor, the
Yeah.
thing that sets you up for success in the long run.
Exactly. And one of the most valuable tools in the lean startup world for building that mindset is the 5 Whys framework.
Okay, 5 whys sounds almost too simple.
It is simple, but don't underestimate its power. The 5 Whys is about getting to the root cause of a problem.
Not just treating the symptoms.
It's not about assigning blame.
It's about understanding why something happened.
The systems and processes that led to the issue.
So instead of just asking why,
Once, you ask it 5 times in a row.
digging deeper each time
Peeling back the layers like an onion.
until you get to the heart of the matter.
Ries gives a great example from IMVU.
Oh yeah, what happened there?
They were getting customer complaints about a new product release.
Okay.
So they start by asking why the feature was disabled.
Huh?
Turns out a server had failed.
Okay, so a technical glitch.
But they didn't stop there. They kept asking why,
Right.
and eventually discovered that the engineer who configured the subsystem had never been trained on how to use it properly.
So the root cause wasn't the server itself.
It was a training issue.
Wow. Okay, keep going.
So they dug even deeper and asked why the engineer hadn't been trained. Turns out the engineer's manager didn't believe in training new employees.
Seriously.
My God.
He felt his team was too busy.
Wow. So what started as a technical problem ended up revealing a cultural issue.
Exactly. That's the power of the 5 whys, uncovering those hidden systemic problems.
Okay, I'm seeing it now.
Yeah.
But once you've used the 5 Whys to find the root cause, what's next?
Invest in a solution that matches the scale of the problem.
So if it's a small issue, you don't need to overhaul the whole system. Right. But if it's a recurring problem that's impacting your business, you need a more robust solution.
Something that addresses the underlying issue.
Exactly. It's about building an adaptive organization, a company that can learn from its mistakes and constantly improve.
The 5 whys is like a catalyst for that kind of culture.
It creates a system where people feel safe speaking up about problems.
And those problems are seen as opportunities to learn.
Not something to be punished for.
So it's a feedback loop that helps the whole organization grow.
And Ries says this adaptive approach isn't just for startups,
It can work anywhere.
even large companies.
So it's not just about building the next unicorn.
It's about building a better way to work,
A way that's more responsive to change
more customer-centric.
and ultimately more successful.
The lean startup method is about building a learning machine.
Not a static product or company.
You got it.
This has been an incredible deep dive. Any final thoughts for our listeners as they embark on their own lean startup journeys?
Here's one to chew on. What if, instead of trying to build the perfect product, you focused on building the perfect learning machine for your startup?
I love that. It's not about having all the answers up front. It's about constantly asking questions, experimenting, and being open to evolving along the way.
Embrace the uncertainty.
Be curious.
Never stop learning.
That's the real key. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the lean startup.
And good luck building your learning machines.